In some of the previous lectures, I discussed some member functions of the standard string that allow us to modify the capacity of the managed string. Now in this lecture, I want to discuss some member functions, again of the standard string, that allow us to modify the size or length of the managed string. So in this example, I have the string instantiated, so I have an instance string1, which I initialize to Bob. Then I go and print that out, so we can use that as a reference. Then I go and print out the size or length of that. Then I invoke the member function clear. You can think for a second what this is going to do. It's going to clear, or in other words, set the managed string to an empty string. So in other words, it's going to remove all of the characters within that string. Then I go and print that string out again. Following the clear, we get that, and we should get an empty string. Then we print out the size or length following the clear function invocation again. And I simply have for reference the capacity. Build around that, we get Bob printed out. Then we get to the size or length is going to be 3. We have 3 characters. Again, it doesn't count the null terminating character. Then we invoke the clear member function. So following the clear member function invocation, we get an empty string. Then the size or length following the clear member function invocation is going to be 0. We don't have any characters in that. But the string capacity is going to remain 15. I'll just remove that unnecessary newline character. So you can see that the clear member function is going to erase the contents of the managed string, or in other words, it's going to set it to an empty string. We also have this resize member function. Now to get started again, I'm initializing the string to Bob, and then I'm printing that out. I print out the size or the length, and then also the capacity. Then I invoke the resize member function. I pass in 5. Now what this is going to do is it's going to resize the size or length of that string. And since we are basically upsizing, currently the size is 3, so we are resizing that to 5. And since we are upsizing, it will add null characters at the end, and you'll see that the size and the capacity may update. So if I build a run here, notice that we get Bob printed out. The size or length is 3, and then the capacity is 15. Then following the resize, we still get Bob printed out. The length is going to be 5 now. Basically, it appended 2 null characters at the end, and then the capacity is going to remain the same in this example. Now with the resize member function, we can also specify what we want to add or append in the case where we upsize that string. For example, I pass in some character, the exclamation, that is printable. Of course, we do not see the null character printed out, so I want to print something out that we can actually see. I can build a run now, and you can see that we get those 2 exclamations at the end. Okay, let's go and modify the string. And I'll remove this second argument in the resize member function, so I only pass in this 5 here. So the first printout should give us hello human. That is where we print out the string. But the second printout, now you can think for a second what this will give us. Alright, so I'll build a run, and you will see that we get hello human printed out. The size or length is 12, capacity is 15. Following resize, we will get hello, or a modification to the size of the string, so it's going to remove the characters at the end up until the number that we specified, so in this case 5. In other words, we will get the first 5 characters hello, the size is going to be 5, and the capacity is going to remain the same. Let's say we resize to 25, and we build and run, then of course the capacity will update to accommodate the size of the string. Alright, and that is a quick introduction to the resize member function. We also have an erase member function with the string1 set to hello human again, ending off with the exclamation. I do string1.erase, and I pass in the index following which the function will start to erase some characters. Following 5 characters, that function will start to erase some characters. So I do this calculation here, string.size, that is string1.size minus 6, and with this I want to keep the exclamation at the end. So I will build a run, and you will see it actually reduces the size or the length of the string as well. So we get hello printed out followed by the exclamation, so it kept that character. It reduced the size or length to 6. Also, if I go and remove this calculation, so I only pass in 1 argument now, The formal parameter names are not very useful with these functions, but basically if you only pass in one argument, so in this case I'll only pass in 5, then it should erase all of the characters following this index. And if I build run, you will see that's what we get. We only get hello printed out, and the length is now 5. This function also returns by reference, so I can cut this out here, and then I can paste it over here, and it should then print out the string as well. Just remove the semicolon. You can see it does the calculation, but it also returns a reference. So get hello printed out and the string size as well. If you pass in no arguments for the erase member function, then it's going to remove all of the characters in the string, similar to the clear member function. I just wanted to mention that. With the standard string, again, it's best to refer to documentation because the formal parameters are not all that useful. And so through experimentation and reading the documentation, you will find what you are looking for. So moving on, I'll show you one more thing. I'll go and remove that exclamation. Then I'll do a different member function here. I will use this pushback member function. Now these functions that I'll discuss here, pushback and then also popback, will make a bit more sense once I discuss data structures in a bit more detail in a future lesson. But basically this is going to append this character at the end of the string. So if I build run, you can see we get hello human printed out, and then following the pushback function invocation where I append the exclamation, we get hello human with the exclamation appended at the end. Popback is going to do the opposite. It is going to pop the final character off, or in other words remove it from the list of characters in the string. This is similar to pushing a function on the stack and then popping that function off again, as we discussed before. You have a stack of stuff that you push onto and then you can pop off from the stack again. This is kind of similar to that, but again this will make more sense once we discuss data structures in a bit more detail. So I will build a run again, and now you can see we get hello human, and then following the popback, we are going to pop that final character off, so we're going to pop the exclamation off from the end, which will reduce the size or length again. Right, so this section was just a bonus here, pushback and popback. Again, the goal is not to discuss all of the member functions here, I just want to demonstrate a couple of these to you. And just fixing this comment here, this is remove the character. Of course, this is going to ignore the null terminating character, but again with the standard string we're not concerned with the null terminating character. That is taken care of for us internally or abstracted away by the string class. So it's going to remove the final character in that string, so currently it's going to remove the exclamation, and if we do this twice, just to demonstrate, then of course it should also remove the n at the end. So build a run, and you can see now we get hello HUMA instead of hello human. A quick summary to wrap up this lecture. In the previous lecture we discussed the fact that we can change the standard string capacity. We can request a change in the capacity by invoking the reserve member function. We can also get or return the capacity by using the capacity member function. And we can also request the reduction of capacity to fit the size of the standard string by invoking the string to fit member function. Now in this lecture we discussed the fact that we can also change the standard string size by using various member functions, such as the clear member function or the resize member function. And the same thing with resize. If you just pass in one argument, then we will resize the string, removing the characters if it is smaller or adding null characters if larger. Otherwise, we can pass in a second argument, some fill character to fill those new spaces, again if the string will end up being larger. And then with the erase member function we have a starting index, and we pass in the number of characters that we want to erase. If you only pass in one argument with the starting index, then it's going to erase all of the characters following that index. If you pass in no arguments, then it's going to clear the entire string, as with the clear member function.